Luna White was invisible on forward operating base Titan, just another civilian IT contractor fixing computers and staying out of the way. At 28 years old, with messy dark hair and thick-framed glasses, the soldiers barely noticed her existence. What they didn't know was that Luna had a classified past: 4 years Marine Corps infantry, 2 combat deployments, and a Navy Cross hidden in files marked top secret. She'd walked away from that life because she was too good at killing and it was destroying her soul. But when insurgent forces overran the base at 0300 hours with overwhelming numbers, Luna found herself standing in the server room with a choice: hide and pray they didn't find her, or pick up a rifle and remember everything the Marine Corps had drilled into her. The moment she heard screams of soldiers being executed in the courtyard, Luna White stopped being a civilian contractor. She grabbed an M4, tied back her hair, and became the last thing those insurgents would ever see: a trained killer they'd assumed was helpless prey, about to demonstrate why underestimating the quiet IT girl was their final mistake. 18 months ago, Luna White had taken the civilian contractor job at FOB Titan, specifically because it was boring, safe, and completely removed from violence. After 4 years as a Marine Corps infantry specialist and 2 combat deployments that had left scars nobody could see, she'd needed the absolute opposite of warfare. The job was perfect for disappearing: fix computers, maintain networks, teach soldiers basic cybersecurity, and go completely unnoticed. She wore oversized hoodies, kept her hair messy, wore thick glasses she didn't actually need, and cultivated an image of the stereotypical nerdy IT contractor who couldn't possibly be dangerous. But FOB Titan was in a dangerous region, and safety was always temporary. The base housed about 200 personnel, mix of Army, Marines, and contractors like Luna. It served as a logistics hub and intelligence collection point in a region where 3 different insurgent groups competed for territory. The perimeter was fortified with concrete barriers, guard towers, and regular patrols, but everyone knew it was a potential target. At 0300 hour, the first explosion shook the building. Luna's Marine Corps training kicked in before her conscious mind processed what was happening. She was on the floor, away from windows, assessing the explosion's direction and distance before the dust settled. The base alarm began wailing, the specific pattern that meant perimeter breach, not just indirect fire. Through the server room's small window, she could see tracer fire lighting up the darkness. Her radio, the one she carried for IT emergencies, crackled with panicked transmissions. "Tower 3 is down! Repeat, Tower 3 is down! They're inside the wire! Multiple insurgents, heavy weapons! All personnel to defensive positions! This is not a drill!" Luna moved to the weapons locker in the corner, ostensibly for the security guard who sometimes worked in the server room. She knew the combination because she'd helped install the electronic lock. Inside was an M4 carbine with 4 magazines. She stared at the weapon for a long moment. Picking it up meant becoming someone she'd tried to leave behind. It meant remembering skills she'd spent 18 months trying to forget. But outside, she could hear gunfire getting closer. Screams. The distinct sound of insurgents shouting in a dialect she recognized from her deployments. Luna made her decision. She pulled the M4 from the locker, checked the chamber with muscle memory she couldn't suppress, and grabbed the spare magazines. Then she stopped, looking at her reflection in a dark monitor. Messy hair, oversized hoodie, thick glasses, the costume of Luna White, harmless IT contractor. She pulled off the glasses and tossed them aside. She tied her hair back in a tight tactical bun. She stripped off the hoodie, revealing the plain black shirt underneath that allowed better movement. The woman who emerged looked nothing like the contractor the soldiers ignored. She looked like exactly what she'd been before the facade, a Marine who'd survived 2 deployments by being better at violence than the people trying to kill her. Luna moved to the door and listened. Gunfire was concentrated near the main barracks and command post. The insurgents were hitting the primary targets first, which meant they had intelligence about the base layout. She keyed her radio, switching to the emergency frequency. "Any station, this is White, server room vicinity." "What's the situation?" The response came from someone she recognized, Sergeant Chen, one of the few soldiers who'd been consistently polite to her. "White, get to the bunker! We're being overrun! They hit us with—" His transmission cut off with the sound of gunfire. Luna checked her M4 one more time, then slipped out of the server room into the corridor. The base's emergency lighting cast everything in red. Smoke was drifting through the hallway from somewhere ahead. She moved toward the sound of fighting, using tactics she'd sworn she'd never need again. Every corner was checked. Every shadow was a potential threat. Her movements were efficient, economical, the product of training and experience she couldn't forget, even when she'd tried. As she approached the main corridor junction, she heard voices. Insurgents, moving fast, speaking the same dialect she'd learned to recognize during her deployments. They were doing room-to-room clearing, looking for personnel to capture or kill. Luna positioned herself at the corner, M4 raised, and waited. Patient, controlled. Exactly as she'd been trained, 3 insurgents came around the corner, weapons raised, scanning for targets. They were focused ahead, expecting resistance from soldiers in uniform, from defensive positions. They weren't expecting the quiet IT contractor. Luna fired 3 controlled bursts, 2 rounds each, center mass, exactly as Marine Corps marksmanship training demanded. All 3 insurgents dropped before they could return fire. She moved forward immediately, not waiting to confirm kills, because hesitation got you killed, and she'd learned that lesson the hard way years ago. She grabbed an extra magazine from one of the fallen insurgents, compatible with her M4, and kept moving. Her radio crackled, "All personnel, this is command. Enemy forces have breached multiple sectors. Estimate 40 to 50 insurgents inside the wire. All available personnel mount defense at rally points Alpha and Bravo. Medical personnel to—" The transmission cut to static. 40 to 50 insurgents against a base that had been caught sleeping. The numbers were bad. The surprise was worse. Luna reached a window overlooking the courtyard and assessed the tactical situation with the cold calculation she'd thought she'd left behind. The insurgents had hit the guard towers first, smart, eliminating Overwatch. They'd breached at multiple points, coordinated, well-planned. They had heavy weapons. She could see an RPG team setting up to hit the command post. This wasn't a random attack. This was a planned assault with intelligence about the base's layout and defenses. She spotted something that made her blood run cold. A group of insurgents were gathering captured soldiers in the courtyard, forcing them to kneel. Execution setup. Luna counted 6 soldiers on their knees, hands behind their heads, at least 15 insurgents around them. The math was impossible for a direct assault, but she'd done impossible math before. She moved to a better position, 2nd floor of the administration building, overlooking the courtyard. From there, she had elevation, cover, and sight lines to most of the execution squad. Luna set up her shot, using a desk as a stable shooting platform. She controlled her breathing, found her natural respiratory pause, and began engaging targets with the precision that had once made her one of the top marksmen in her unit. The insurgent commander, identifiable by his position and the way others deferred to him, dropped first. 2 rounds center mass. Before his body hit the ground, Luna had shifted to the insurgent with the RPG. If he got that weapon into play, the command post was gone. 2 more rounds. RPG gunner down. The insurgents were reacting now, trying to locate the shooter, but Luna had already shifted position, moving 3 windows down before firing again. The insurgent about to execute the first kneeling soldier dropped. Then another. Then 2 more in rapid succession as Luna worked through her magazine with the mechanical efficiency of someone who'd done this hundreds of times. 15 insurgents in the courtyard. Luna dropped 8 before they located her position and began returning fire. Rounds sparked off the concrete near her position, but she was already moving, using the building's layout to reposition. The captured soldiers weren't waiting for a second invitation. The moment the insurgents' attention shifted to Luna, they moved. 3 of them rushed the nearest insurgents, using the chaos Luna had created. Hand-to-hand fighting erupted in the courtyard. Luna provided cover fire, picking off insurgents trying to shoot the escaping soldiers. Her M4 clicked empty. She dropped the magazine, loaded a fresh one, and kept firing. One of the escaping soldiers, she recognized him as Corporal Davis from the motor pool, grabbed a fallen insurgent's AK-47 and began returning fire, covering his fellow captives as they scattered. Luna's intervention had turned a massacre into a fighting chance. She heard movement behind her, more insurgents entering the building, coming for the shooter who disrupted their execution. Time to move. Luna displaced from the administration building, moving through corridors she knew from 18 months of fixing computers in every building on base. She knew which doors stuck, which rooms had 2 exits, which corridors had sight lines that favored defense. She was using the base layout like a weapon. As she moved, she heard radio chatter, disorganized, panicked, but gradually becoming more coordinated as defenders rallied. Her intervention in the courtyard had bought time for soldiers to organize resistance. Whoever's shooting from admin building, keep it up. You're giving us time to establish defensive positions. Rally Point Alpha is holding. We've got 20 personnel and we're contact front. Gunfire interrupted the transmission. Luna reached a stairwell and heard boots thundering up from below, insurgents hunting her. She positioned herself at the landing with clear sight lines down the stairs. When the first insurgent appeared, she fired. Then the second. The third one retreated, shouting warnings to others. Luna didn't wait. She moved up instead of down, heading to the roof. Rooftops offered mobility, sight lines, and, if she remembered the base layout correctly, a way to reach the Armory building where heavier weapons were stored. On the roof, she could see the entire base battle unfolding. Insurgents controlled the north and east sectors. Defenders were concentrated around the command post and 2 barracks buildings, rally points Alpha and Bravo. The medical facility was on fire. Tracer fire crisscrossed the darkness. She also saw something that changed the tactical picture. A pickup truck with a mounted heavy machine gun, was positioned to suppress any movement between defensive positions. That gun was preventing the separated defender groups from supporting each other. Luna checked her remaining ammunition. 1 magazine in the rifle, 2 spares. Not enough for the prolonged fight she could see developing, but the technical was maybe 150 meters away, and she'd made harder shots under worse conditions. She found a stable position, using a ventilation unit as cover and support. The technical's gunner was focused on Rally Point Alpha, firing bursts that kept defenders pinned. Luna aimed for the gunner first, eliminate the immediate threat. She fired. The gunner dropped. Before the insurgents could react, she shifted aim to the technical's engine block. She put 5 rounds into it, aiming for critical components. The vehicle began smoking. The insurgents around the technical scattered, losing their mobile heavy weapon and the cover it provided. Luna's radio crackled. "Unknown friendly, this is Rally Point Alpha Actual. Your fire is extremely effective. Can you identify yourself?" Luna hesitated. Responding meant revealing who she was, but coordination would save lives. She keyed the radio. "Rally Point Alpha, this is White, civilian contractor, former Marine Corps infantry. I'm mobile with M4 and limited ammunition. Where do you need me?" There was a pause. She could imagine their confusion. The IT contractor was the one shooting up insurgents. "White, this is Captain Morrison, Alpha Actual. Say again your last. You're the contractor who fixes computers?" "Affirmative. Also former Marine. 2 deployments, infantry specialist, expert marksman. Currently on admin building roof. I can see most of the base." Another pause. Then Morrison's voice came back, professional and focused. "White, we need you to suppress insurgent positions so we can move wounded from Bravo to Alpha. They've got our medics pinned. Can you provide overwatch?" "Send it." Morrison gave her the grid coordinates and timing. Luna repositioned on the roof, finding angles to cover the route between rally points. "On your mark, White." Luna settled into shooting position. "Ready. Execute in 3, 2, 1, go!" Soldiers began moving from Rally Point Bravo, carrying wounded on stretchers. Immediately, insurgents opened fire from 2 positions Morrison had identified. Luna engaged both positions, firing controlled bursts that forced the insurgents into cover. She wasn't trying for kills. She was providing suppressive fire, making the insurgents choose between shooting and surviving. It worked. The insurgents ducked, their fire slackened, and the evacuation team made it to Rally Point Alpha with their wounded. Good shooting, White. All personnel secure. Luna's M4 clicked empty. Last magazine. She performed a tactical reload and assessed the situation. The insurgents were adapting. They'd identified her roof position and were maneuvering to flank the building. She could see at least 6 moving to cut off her exit routes. Time to displace again. Luna moved across the rooftop, looking for her next position. That's when she saw the Armory building, only about 20 meters away across an alley, but 20 meters of open space under fire. The Armory meant more ammunition, better weapons, and possibly explosives. It meant transforming from a nuisance into a real threat to the insurgent assault. Luna didn't overthink it. She'd made harder calls under worse conditions. She ran. Insurgents spotted her immediately. Rounds cracked past her head, sparked off the roof surface. She fired her M4 one-handed while running, not aiming for accuracy, but forcing insurgents into cover long enough to complete her sprint. She hit the Armory roof and rolled, coming up in a covered position. Rounds impacted where she'd been a second before. The Armory roof had an access hatch, locked, but Luna still had her Contractor access card that opened most base buildings. She swiped it, praying the system was still functioning. Green light. The hatch opened. Luna dropped into the Armory building, landing in a corridor she recognized. She'd been here a month ago to fix the inventory computer. The Armory was supposed to be secure, but in the chaos of the assault, she wasn't sure who controlled it. She moved carefully, M4 raised. She heard voices ahead, English, American accents, friendly. Anyone there? I'm friendly, Contractor White, coming from the roof access. White? The IT person? A soldier appeared, weapon raised but not aimed at her. She recognized him, Specialist Rodriguez, one of the Armory staff. What the hell are you doing here? Long story. What's your situation? Rodriguez looked at her differently now, seeing the way she held her weapon, her tactical movement, the focused intensity that wasn't anything like the quiet contractor he knew. We've got 3 personnel, limited ammunition to defend this position, and about a dozen insurgents trying to breach. They want the heavy weapons. Luna nodded. Then let's make sure they don't get them. What do you have that's better than an M4? Rodriguez led her to the weapons vault. Inside was everything a prepared FOB needed. M240 machine guns, M249 SAWs, AT-4 rocket launchers, grenades, and enough ammunition to hold off a small army. This changes things, Luna said, grabbing an M249 SAW and as much 5.56 millimeter ammunition as she could carry. What are your defensive positions? Rodriguez showed her. 3 soldiers holding 3 access points. It was barely adequate. Where are they concentrating their assault? Main entrance. They've got an RPG team setting up. Luna moved to a window overlooking the main entrance. She could see the RPG team. 3 insurgents, 1 with a launcher, 2 providing security. She set up the M249 on a table, creating a stable firing position with good sight lines. When I open up, they're going to shift focus to this window. Be ready to reinforce the other positions if they try to flank. Rodriguez nodded. White, how the hell do you know all this? You're supposed to fix computers. I did fix computers. I also did 2 combat deployments as Marine infantry before I became a contractor. Now, get ready. Luna didn't wait for his response. She opened fire with the M249. The light machine gun roared, sending 5.56 millimeter rounds downrange at 800 rounds per minute. The RPG team disintegrated under the sustained fire. Luna shifted targets, engaging insurgents trying to approach the Armory. The M249's sustained fire was devastating. Insurgents who'd been advancing confidently suddenly found themselves pinned down by accurate machine gun fire from an unexpected direction. Luna fired in controlled bursts, managing her ammunition and barrel heat while maintaining suppressive fire that prevented any organized assault on the Armory. Her radio crackled. White, this is Rally Point Alpha. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Insurgent assault is losing cohesion. But Luna could see what the defenders at the rally points couldn't. Insurgent reinforcements were arriving from outside the base. The initial assault force of 40 to 50 was being supplemented. This wasn't just an attack. It was an attempted occupation. She keyed her radio. Alpha Actual. Be advised, insurgents are receiving reinforcements from outside the perimeter. Estimate additional 20 to 30 fighters. This assault is larger than initial reports. Copy, how can you see that? I'm in the armory with elevated position and night optics. She'd grabbed night vision from the armory supplies. They're staging about 200 meters north of the perimeter breach. Can you interdict? Luna looked at the AT-4 rocket launchers in the armory. Affirmative. Give me 2 minutes. She grabbed an AT-4, moved to a different window with line of sight to the staging area, and prepared the launcher. The AT-4 was a single-shot disposable anti-tank weapon, but it worked just as well against personnel concentrations. She acquired the target, insurgents gathering around vehicles, preparing to reinforce the assault. She armed the AT-4 and fired. The rockets streaked across the distance and detonated in the middle of the insurgent staging area. The explosion scattered fighters and destroyed at least one vehicle. Luna grabbed a second AT-4 and fired at the same area before they could recover. Another explosion. The reinforcement effort collapsed into chaos. Alpha Actual, reinforcement attempt disrupted. They're scattered. Outstanding shooting, White. What other surprises do you have in that armory? Luna looked around at the weapons available. How do you feel about a counterattack? There was a pause. White, we're barely holding defensive positions. Counterattack isn't. They're disorganized. Their command element is disrupted. Their reinforcements are scattered. Their heavy weapons are neutralized. Right now, they're waiting for us to stay defensive. If we hit them while they're disorganized, we can break this assault. Another pause. Luna could imagine Captain Morrison weighing the risks, considering whether to trust tactical advice from a civilian contractor. What do you have in mind? I can provide heavy suppressive fire from the armory. That pins their main force. You push from Rally Point Alpha toward their breach point, rolling up their flank. Rodriguez and his team here can provide a blocking position preventing their retreat. We catch them between 3 fires and crush their assault. That's aggressive. If it fails, we're committed and exposed. If we stay defensive, those reinforcements will reorganize and hit us again. We end this now while we have the advantage. Luna could hear Morrison consulting with someone, probably his senior NCO. Then, all right, White, we'll try it your way. On your signal, we'll push from Alpha. Rodriguez, you copy? Rodriguez, who'd been listening, keyed his radio. Copy. Armory team will establish blocking position. White, this is a bold call for someone who's supposed to fix computers. I'm good at solving problems, sir. This is just a different kind of troubleshooting. Luna set up multiple firing positions in the armory, the M249 at one window and M240 at another, grenades staged for quick access. She'd create the illusion of more firepower than she actually had. All elements, stand by. Execute on my mark in 30 seconds. Luna did a final weapons check. M249 ready, M240 ready, grenades accessible. This would work or it would fail spectacularly. Execute, execute, execute. Luna opened fire with the M249, raking the insurgent positions with sustained automatic fire. Before they could react, she shifted to the M240 at the second window, firing from a different angle. To the insurgents, it seemed like multiple machine guns from multiple positions, far more defenders than actually existed. As they focused on the armory threat, Rally Point Alpha launched their counterattack. 20 soldiers pushed from the rally point, moving with coordinated fire and movement toward the insurgent flank. The insurgents tried to respond to both threats, splitting their fire, losing cohesion. Some tried to retreat right into Rodriguez's blocking position. Luna threw grenades through windows, aiming for insurgent positions she'd identified. The explosions added to the chaos. The insurgent assault was collapsing. What had been an organized attack became a rout. Insurgents broke and ran, some making it out through the perimeter breach, others surrendering, many cut down by the coordinated counterattack. Within 10 minutes of Luna's signal, the battle was effectively over. She heard Morrison on the radio. All stations, bases secure. Insurgent forces neutralized or retreating. Establish perimeter security and casualty collection. Luna set down the M249, suddenly feeling the weight of what she'd just done. She'd spent 18 months trying to forget how to do this, and in one night, it had all come back. Rodriguez approached her, looking at the woman he'd known as the quiet IT contractor with completely different eyes. "White? I don't know what you were before you came here, but you just saved this entire base." Luna didn't respond. She was looking at the M249, at the empty brass casing scattered around her position, at the smoke drifting from the barrel. This was who she used to be. This was what she'd tried to leave behind. An hour later, Luna sat in the command post, still wearing her contractor clothes, now stained with gun smoke and debris. Captain Morrison was debriefing the action. Final count: 15 insurgents killed in action, 8 captured, remainder fled. Our casualties: 4 killed in action, 12 wounded, none critical, thanks to White's intervention getting our medics into action. White personally accounted for at least 12 enemy KIA and disrupted their entire assault plan. Morrison turned to Luna. "I've got to ask, when you applied for this contractor position, did you mention you were a decorated Marine infantryman with combat experience?" "Former Marine, and no, sir, that wasn't relevant to IT support." "Not relevant?" "You just conducted a one-person counterinsurgency operation." Luna met his eyes. "I left that life because I was good at it and it was destroying me. I came here to fix computers and be invisible. I didn't want to be this person anymore." Morrison's expression softened slightly. "But you became this person again to save lives. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. You chose to fight instead of hide. You chose to remember skills you wanted to forget. That's courage." Luna shook her head. "It's not courage when violence is the only thing you're good at." One of the soldiers who'd been captured, Corporal Davis, spoke up. "Ma'am, you saved my life. Those insurgents were about to execute us. Whatever you think about yourself, you're a hero to everyone who's alive because of what you did." Luna didn't know how to respond to that. She'd spent 18 months convincing herself she wasn't a soldier anymore. One night had proven that was a lie she'd told herself. Over the next few days, as the base recovered and reinforcements arrived, Luna became a different kind of invisible. Everyone knew who she was now. The IT contractor who'd killed a dozen insurgents and coordinated a successful counterattack. Soldiers looked at her with respect, sometimes awe, sometimes fear. She hated it. A week after the assault, Luna was called to the command post. Captain Morrison was there, along with a colonel she didn't recognize, and 2 people in civilian clothes who screamed, "Intelligence community." "Ms. White," the colonel began, "we've been reviewing your performance during the assault. We've also been reviewing your military record, the real one, not the sanitized version in your contractor file." Luna remained silent. "Marine Corps, 4 years, 2 deployments, infantry specialist, but that's underselling it. You were attached to special operations units, conducted direct action missions, earned a Navy Cross that's classified so most people don't know it exists. You left the Corps with an honorable discharge and immediately disappeared into civilian contracting." One of the civilians spoke. "You were also flagged for psych eval due to combat stress. You refused further counseling and separated from service. The Corps let you go because you'd fulfilled your obligation. But there were concerns." Luna found her voice. "I had PTSD. I was good at killing people and it was making me someone I didn't want to be. I left before I became completely broken." "Is there a question in this briefing, or are we just reviewing things I already know about myself?" Morrison intervened. "White, they're not here to judge you. They're here to offer you something." The colonel continued, "Your actions during the assault demonstrated exactly the capabilities we need for a specialized program. High-level tactical skills, ability to operate independently, capacity for improvisation under extreme stress. We're forming a team for denied area operations, situations where conventional forces can't operate, but we need someone who can blend in, assess threats, and take direct action when necessary. You want me to be a spy who kills people. That's what you're describing." The civilian smiled slightly. "We prefer special activities officer, but essentially yes. You'd have cover identities, legitimate jobs, real contractor credentials. And when situations develop that require your particular skill set, you'd be activated. Luna laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want me to do exactly what I've been running from. Be the person I hate being. Morrison spoke quietly, or you could see it differently. You tried to leave this behind, but circumstances proved you can't. So maybe instead of running from who you are, you use these skills to protect people. On your terms, with support systems, with purpose beyond just survival. And if I say no, the colonel shrugged, then you go back to fixing computers and pretending last week didn't happen. But we both know you can't unring this bell. Everyone on this base knows what you're capable of now. Your cover as invisible IT contractor is burned. Luna looked at the four of them, seeing the calculation in their eyes. They weren't wrong. She couldn't go back to being invisible. The soldiers would never see her the same way. I need time to think. You have 24 hours, the civilian said. After that, the offer expires and you're just another contractor with an interesting story. Luna left the command post and walked to the base perimeter, looking out at the desert where insurgents had breached a week ago. She thought about who she'd been, a Marine who was too good at violence, who she'd tried to become, a civilian who could forget, who she'd discovered she actually was, someone who couldn't escape their nature when lives were at stake. 24 hours later, she returned to the command post. I'll do it, but with conditions. I get to choose my assignments. I get proper psychological support. And I never become just a weapon. I keep my humanity even when I'm doing inhumane things. The colonel nodded. Acceptable. Welcome to the program. 6 months later, Luna White was in a different country under a different cover identity, working as a logistics contractor at a port facility. She fixed manifests and tracked containers and remained completely invisible. Until the day she identified a weapons trafficking operation supplying terrorists, confirmed it through her contractor access to shipping records, and then systematically dismantled the entire network over a 72-hour period that involved exactly the kind of violence she'd tried to leave behind. But this time, she wasn't running from who she was. She was using her skills with purpose, with support, with the understanding that some people were uniquely qualified to do terrible things in service of preventing worse things. She was still Luna White, civilian contractor. But she was also something else, a weapon hidden in plain sight, a protector who everyone underestimated right up until the moment they discovered their fatal mistake. She was only a civilian contractor on base until the base got overrun and she started mowing down enemies with full auto. Then everyone learned that the quiet IT girl who fixed computers had another skill set entirely. She was exceptionally good at fixing problems that required violence, precision, and the kind of courage that comes from accepting exactly who you are. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.